Good morning, everyone. My name is Ilse Boysen. I am a social worker at Stabilis Treatment Center, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Seeing that we are approaching silly season, anytime from December or from September to December, I would like to address a topic that is very important, especially this time of the year, called stress management and emotional resilience. And I want to focus more so on emotional resilience. Okay, so let's look at what the term emotional resilience means. So resilience, first of all, any type of resilience cannot happen without exposure. We need to be exposed to certain situations or challenges or adversities, however you might want to call it, to build up emotional resilience. Emotional resilience does not mean that one should not feel any uncomfortable emotion. So yes, of course, you can feel anxious when a traumatic event happens, you lose a loved one, you can grieve. Those emotions are normal and it's what makes us human. But emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. So life happened to me, for an example. I go through the motions, I go through the process, but I can still function despite all these emotions that I'm feeling. I'm able to manage myself and then to bounce back again and carry on with life. Another important aspect to emotional resilience is also asking for help. I think there is a stigma that points to the fact that emotional resilience means that you should be strong all the time and you should not need help from anyone, and that is not the truth. We always need help from other people. There is power in sharing our story and asking for feedback. So that is important, that when we go through life, that we can check in with people and talk to them and ask for help if we haven't figured it out ourselves. So imagine there's a scale, right, from 1 to 10, and in the middle, which is 5, is where we should function most of the time. That is also what emotional resilience is. It's not functioning on a 10, being happy all the time, or functioning on a 1. It's functioning on a 5 and then having enough space and room to move between the negative side of the scale, which is our negative emotions or uncomfortable emotions, and the positive side of the scale. That is very important. So as I mentioned earlier on, emotional resilience is having the ability to go back to the baseline and to go back to that emotional state, positive emotional state that you were in before you were confronted with a certain challenge. So why is emotional resilience important? Often in practice, I see with people who's in recovery that if they are not emotionally resilient, that the chances of relapses are then bigger, unfortunately. What I forgot to mention is that emotional resilience is also a skill. Yes, some of us have stronger resilience than others. The same way, for example, that others have more discipline than the other one, but it does not mean that one can use that as an excuse to say, oh, I'm not a resilient person. It's a emotional muscle that one constantly has to work on. It's a skill that you need to work on. And it's like maths. If you don't practice it, you are not going to master it. So it's important with emotional resilience that we practice it, that we exercise that skill, and that we're strong enough to face challenges, not to a point where we want to abuse a substance or to self-destruct in any other way. Now I would like to discuss with you the 7 C's of emotional resilience. So Dr. Kenneth Kinsberg is a child pediatrician and a human development expert, and he develop the 7 C's of emotional resilience. The first one is competence, the ability to know how to handle stressful situations. So one cannot be emotionally resilient if you don't know what to do with the situation, because if you don't know what to do with the situation, you are going to want to engage in self-destructive behavior. So it's important that one equips yourself and say, okay, if I'm, for example, going to get in the car, I know my route to work is packed with traffic. So it's pointless getting upset about it because I know what's coming. So what safety mechanisms can I put in place to cope, to be okay? I can put music on in the car, I can put a podcast on, whatever it may be. But it is important that we have the ability to know how to handle stressful situations. Number 2 is confidence. If we do not believe in our own abilities, we will run away from challenges. So we have to build up the confidence to be able to face challenges and to be comfortable enough to be exposed to it and say, this is my reality, I need to deal with it. Third C is connection. Like I mentioned earlier on, we need people around us. Many times when one is confronted with a challenge, we are emotional and we tend to overthink, but the moment we speak to other people, we get a different perspective. So it helps us to have a more holistic approach in how to deal with a situation. Number 4, character, and that comes back to our morals and values. We should remember that our morals and values are a compass, a life compass. It guides us through life. And that is often what we bounce back on when we are confronted with certain challenges. So it's important that we work on our character, we know what our values are, especially if we are new in recovery, because one of the things that happens when we are in active addiction is that we forget about our values because we've acted out of character for such a long time. So it's important during sobriety that while you get to know yourself and become self-aware, that you know what your values and morals are, and when you are challenged with circumstances, that you bounce back and you use those values and morals as a coping mechanism. Number 5, contribution, and that is really, it speaks to helping people and being there for other people. Often when one is a recovering addict, you feel worthless, your self-esteem is low, and you feel that because you've lost so much, you have nothing to give to anyone. And it's so important that you then become part of, of charity, just give back of yourself, right? Okay, then number 6, coping. Knowing again what your coping skills are. You have to sit down and say, listen, this is what works for me, this is what doesn't work for me. When I'm anxious, breathing techniques works for me. Meditating doesn't work for me. So to figure out what are your coping skills, if it is to talk to people or to journal, to always apply that when you are faced with challenging circumstances. And 7, control. We are always in control of our decisions. Relapsing and choosing a substance is a choice. It doesn't just happen to you. Or choosing that I'm going to work through this challenge that life is giving me, it's a choice. And you are in control. You always have to remember that when life happens to you, you are in control. Thank you so much for listening to my video and watching it. If you have any questions or if you want to weigh into this topic, just write a comment down in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to this video, and you can watch our other videos. There's so many videos on